after having heard that the Centennial Campus was planning a golf course that was to be supportive of the campus, the faculty, and the students. Being an alum, it was a no-brainer for me to come pursue that work. In the beginning, I approached Claude McKinney. Great excuse to come back to Raleigh, to come back to state, and talk to him about it, and did. And that would have been about 1986 or 7. It was a long time ago. It took many years for the project to get started, and it got started in a proposal form that went out as an RFP, request for proposal, for golf course, hotel, and alumni hall. And it was a monstrous RFP that ultimately got culled down to something that was much more manageable, and probably is because it got reduced in size, it's the reason we have a golf course now. And it was, all right, you get a chance to come back to North Carolina State and design a golf course. So I was given a topographical map that when I saw that, and I hadn't seen the site, I knew generally where it was. This is nice topo. This is nice ground to work with. And we're able to look at that, and almost it becomes three-dimensional to us, and looked at it and went, this is nice stuff. First of all, the site is generally square. So it lets you have some freedom within the site to really kind of manipulate things around to the way you would like to, rather than if you have weird shapes or weird corners or long narrow stretches or disengaged properties, you're forced to put golf in areas that may not really fall where they should, but you have to use that ground because that's all you have. In this case, we had a square that we could use, and within the square, the land had all different kinds of random movement. Not a general slope one way or the other, not a general slope to a valley, although it has those, but there were ups and downs and a lot of very random topo of a slope that was manageable, that you could play golf on. And that's key to a good property. One of the key design intents, maybe the paramount design intent, was to parlay the natural role of the land into the strategy of how you played the golf holes.
There was shaping. While some of the topo that was naturally there was good, you needed to expand some landing areas, make certain things visible, hide certain things. We tried to enhance a lot of what was there. If there was a low, we tried to make it a little bit lower. If there was a high, maybe we'd accent that a little bit and make it higher. Erik was talking about using the roll. Do I play it left on number 1 and roll it in? And that could be a way you get to a back right pin, or do you kind of risk it and fly it over the bunker? And just having the golfer go through that mental exercise makes golf incredibly fun and then incredibly difficult. You can go out and bang it, but you need to think about what you're doing, how you're going to execute your shot. And if you don't, then you're going to have to execute a golf shot that you don't want to have to, or that you can't do. You're really trying to think strategically and give people options and give people choices.
But then you'd also get into the bottoms and on some other hillsides, very dense native vegetation. What I'm getting at is there was a great deal of variety to slope, to vegetation, and to natural features. There were rock outcroppings. So to have that much variety immediately says special.
Well, I think for me, part of the process was, we show up and we had to look at the competition. And I think, Lonnie Poole wanted it to be on par or better than some of the competition down the road. And, both of us had seen some of the area golf courses and knew what that product was. We could have come in and just built another golf course that looked like that, very traditional Bermuda everywhere, but that wouldn't have differentiated State. And we really wanted to make it different from the other college campuses. And looking at the site, looking at this topography that we had to work with, looking at the natural vegetation that we had to work with, looking 50 years from now and what our earth might be. You know, we have a recreation piece that does use a resource, and you know, how can we limit the use of a water resource? How can you incorporate that into the strategy of the golf course? How can you incorporate that into the beauty and aesthetic of the golf course and into the enjoyment of it?
To be able to reapply or re-veg in a native state is just a sustainable, it should last for the long term, rather than a plant type that is more formal or an ornamental aspect.
I think it's very important as you go forward and you're managing this landscape that you stay on that theme. You know, if you do have to replace vegetation that falls down, that dies, that you know, you have a palette to choose from. You're not going to your nursery and getting some kind of ornamental plant. I mean, you're getting something that is going to be found naturally in North Carolina and naturally on that site. We really think that that's important, and that's important to the experience, you know, kind of all the way through. As soon as you get on this piece of property, it's a different experience. You know, NC State is known for its kind of architecture with the brickyard, and that's great. When you get to this golf course, it's a natural landscape.
The roll of the ball after it lands, either beneficially or problematic. You go, whoa, I get this.
This is what we're talking about.